We are here at Warford Cars with Will, and he's invited us down today to be in his showroom, look at some amazing cars that he has currently got in stock, and have a bit of fun, ask some questions, and hopefully, maybe, who knows, go around and maybe take a car out, Will? Maybe not, I don't know. Just depends what we've got in stock and what I'm allowed to take out. But Will, thanks for having us down.
Thank you for coming down.
First question, if you don't mind me asking. First, introduce yourself and introduce your sort of amazing dealership and everything else. Just basic intro, mate, if you can.
So I'm Will Kennedy. Business is Warford Cars. We're based in Ashley, just outside of Altrincham in Cheshire, South Manchester. Been in this showroom now since kind of January this year. Prior to that, I've had a couple of different premises without any roadside presence, so we've had a couple of units at the back of farms.
Because you have got a really good location here.
Yeah, the location is fantastic. We've got lots of passing traffic, and since moving in, we've noticed a definite upturn in how busy we are, and I think it just gives the customers, you know, a sense of confidence when they can see us on the roadside, as opposed to a lot of it previously was just online.
So as we're going around looking at the dealership today, what have you got in stock that, you know, what's a really nice bit of car that you've got in stock right now that you go, oof, that's nice? I mean, you said before you sold the Maserati, that's gone, so yeah. I can't take that, unfortunately.
Yeah. We've got a couple of GT4s. They're fantastic cars now. You know, a lot of value for money now. The thing with
you get a lot of people daily in the GT4s or the GTs.
Yeah, the GT4s especially. A lot of people will daily. It's kind of your entry level into your GT product in terms of Porsche. So a couple of years ago, they were, you know, north of 100 grand. And you know, it was quite a restrictive price point, whereas now there's coming a lot better value for money. You can pick them up at
I'm guessing when you get into sort of like a more of a daily Porsche GT car, I think the main option if you want to deal it, and I'm guessing, is the seats, right? Comfort seats.
Yeah, comfort seats or bucket
necessary.
seats. Yeah, it's a lot of personal preference, really. I've got customers and friends who have got the carbon bucket seats in the GT cars. I find them really comfy. Yeah. I had a GTS with carbon bucket seats and I absolutely hated it.
I get a feeling you're a bit of a Porsche man.
We do a lot of work with Porsche. I do like the Porsche product.
You do as well?
I love the Porsche product.
I'm guessing your dream car's probably a Porsche then, right?
It is indeed, yeah. Yeah.
What would it be?
The dream car absolutely is the 911 Singer.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
They are absolutely beautiful. The engineering, the detailing. Embarrassingly, I've never actually sat in one or touched one in the flesh. I've just oogled over the website many times, but yeah, I just think they're absolutely stunning.
So one when eventually comes in stock, I think you're going to be...
I'd be surprised if we got one in stock, to be honest. I'd be very surprised.
I'm sure you've got connections, you can speak to people. I'm sure if you really wanted to, you could get one in, right? Have it here.
Maybe there's a challenge. Can we get a Singer in the showroom? I don't know.
That's a great challenge. Can we get a Singer in the Warford Cars showroom? So, Will, next one. What got you into, because you mentioned before about different locations, you built it up over time, and now we're in this really nice location with all the cars, great dealership. I mean, look at the showroom; it's absolutely awesome with these prestige cars here behind us. What got you into actually luxury cars?
So initially, my first job in the motor industry was working for Mercedes-Benz in Stockport. I was essentially the T-boy, so I started as an apprentice for 12 months.
How long ago?
That was probably 12 years ago. I was an apprentice. They had a fantastic scheme on, which was an apprenticeship scheme where you spent a week of every month down at Milton Keynes at the head office, and you're essentially doing your sales training to then graduate to be a sales exec for a Mercedes-Benz dealer. And I think that gave me a fantastic grounding and understanding of sales and the whole process around buying and selling cars. So that was my entry into.
Was it a case of you're a young lad, 21, you've gone, this opportunity's come up because I'm into cars, car industry, or is it a case of, that looks good for me and then just go for it?
I definitely have always had an interest in cars. I've loved cars. I would say the most exciting day of my life, bar none, and my wife will probably hate me for this, was the day I passed my driving test.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the
exhilaration
I had inside of me. I remember I passed my driving test, and I think it was a lady that did the test with me. And I was that excited. She was basically said to me, look, you just need to go and sit down for 10 or 15 minutes before you go anywhere. You know,
after she said you passed?
After I passed.
Yeah, yeah.
The excitement, I was literally bouncing off the walls. So she was like, you just need to go and sit down for 10 or 15 minutes, just calm down. But yeah,
What was your first car then? What did you get into after you passed your test?
first car was a 1.7
Porsche.
Porsche.
Imagine.
Yeah, straight into a Porsche. No, it's a 1.7 diesel Vauxhall Astra 5-door. It was my grand's old car.
Yeah.
Which was, turbo diesel's first car. What more can you ask for?
Yeah,
It was cool.
Talkie.
It wasn't cool.
No.
I remember like sanding it down
Colour?
and rattle canning it white.
White.
Yeah, it was lovely. But yeah, I've always had an interest in cars. I've always, I think one of the things that's romantic about cars and, gets me excited is the freedom that it gives you. That's, a lot of people look at cars, see adventure, see freedom, and that's what's interesting. But going into Mercedes-Benz.
Yes. So we've gone from Mercedes, 21, sales training, getting involved in cars, the passion's growing.
Yeah.
Am I right on that right sort of track?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then you spent time at Mercedes in Stockport.
Yeah.
And then grown from there. But what thought process in your mind going, do you know what? I want to do this myself or set up myself?
So initially my thought process was working in the motor industry, it's really long hours when you're in the main dealer. It can be like 70, 80 hours a week.
Really? Why?
Just because, you've got to be there first thing when they pull the stump down at the morning at 8 o'clock and, if a customer walks in at 5 o'clock and they're there to buy a car, you're expected to sit with them for an hour or 2 hours.
Super rigid, is it?
Until they buy a car. I mean, if you want to do well, you've got to put the hours in. I think it's like with anything.
So was it very commission based?
Yeah, heavily commission based. I was eager to earn well, and I wanted to, be one of the top performers in there, which occasionally I was. And it takes a lot of hours. So I thought, actually, if we could go off and have the romantic idea of running my own business, I'll have more time. I think anyone that's got their own business knows that's not true. But
the first moment you wake up to the last moment you go to sleep, it's on your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you dream about it, right?
Yeah. I started selling cars off a driveway initially.
So while you're working for Mercedes?
I did a few deals when I was at Mercedes selling cars off my driveway, yeah. Luckily...
You can admit that now though, can't you? Because it's been a while, Mercedes won't mind.
I don't think Mercedes are
They won't be
too
watching this,
bothered
it's fine.
now.
If you are, just, yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yes, started selling a few cars off my driveway and I thought, you know what, I can do this, I think the more you do something, the more confidence it gives you that...
Here's one of them, Will. What's the first car you sold off your driveway? You've got to remember that, right?
First car I sold off my driveway, well, it was actually when I was in a terrace house and I didn't have a driveway, so it wasn't on my driveway.
Okay, I get
Outside the house.
Outside the house, yeah.
No, scrap that. That wasn't the first car I sold. The first car I ever sold was a Rover 25 in green.
What an awesome car.
1.4, 16 valve.
Yeah.
It was, if you had a budget of about 1,500 quid for your first car, it was one of the only ones that you could get that was over 100 brake horsepower. I think it was 102 brake horsepower, so that was quite important to me at the time. Anyway, after a few...
102 horsepower from factory, and then probably when you sold it, it's probably lost a bit of ponies from then till when you sold it. But, we'll just go with the stats, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How much did you get for that then?
How much did I get for that? Well, it had... It wasn't in the best condition by the time I came to sell it, to be honest. So it's not like the cars we've got around me today.
Second-hand car, it's going to be a cheap car. It's not going to be prestige, is it?
It wasn't, but it was far from prestigious. There was a couple of issues that stand out. One of them was the window regulator broken. So you had to manually lift the window up and kind of wedge it in place. And on the test drive, went over a pothole that actually fell into the door. So, the window regulator didn't work.
As well, though?
This lady loved it. It was green, and she liked frogs, and green was her favourite colour. And
sales training jumped into action. It's like she likes frogs, she likes the colour green. She just sell her on the colour. Forget the window.
This was before even my time at Mercedes, so I hadn't even had my full sales training.
Right,
but
okay.
I think it was just the colour for her that did it, because the window dropped down. The other major issue with the car was the gear linkages had gone, so you had to dogleg the gear stick to get it into second gear. So on the test drive, to get it into second, I said, let me do that for you. So I pulled it into second gear as we went through the gears, and then a few moments later, I think the window dropped out. Anyway, she obviously liked it because she drove off with it.
How much did you sell it for?
I can't remember. It was probably around about £500 or £600, I imagine. I think I give about £2,000 for it from a dealer on the A6. It was a nice low mileage example, but the gear linkages, the fact the window dropped down, there was a dent in the front bumper. Well, a bit more than a dent. I crashed it into a wall. But yeah, that was the first car I ever sold privately.
Yeah.
So, you know, the only way from there is up.
That's how you lost your virginity.
Yeah, with a green Rover 25.
With a green Rover 25, lost your virginity on that car. Great. That's a great story. I like that.
In fact, I sold that by sticking it outside the road of my dad's house with a price board in the window.
Oh, you just literally didn't sell it online, just stuck something in the window for sale.
For sale.
She
came and knocked on the door.
What's the feeling after selling your first car? Was it a good feeling?
Yeah, it's incredible. Sales, I mean, that's one of the buzz. I love cars. I am passionate about cars, but I think the big thing for me is I absolutely love sales. And, you know, we've got people in the business now that handle most of the day-to-day sales. Sam and Jordan do a fantastic job. Sometimes I do really miss the sales side of it because there's an absolute buzz, you know, when you get a deal over the line. I think it's when you know you've got a good product, you're dealing with nice people, and to finally close a deal, not on the basis that, you know, oh, I've made loads of money out of that deal, but you're generally providing someone with good service. They're really happy with the end product. Yeah. A perfect example of that was the 1 Series that we sold recently. You know, it was one of the cheapest cars that we have on the forecourt. I wanted to sell that car because I knew how nice an example it was. I dealt with the guy from start to finish and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah. So I definitely enjoy the sales process. I enjoy the buzz of it. Yeah. I think that, along with a bit of a passion for cars, that's just kind of what's kept me doing what we're doing.
Before, even when you were 21, selling your first car privately, then going to Mercedes, learning the sort of trade almost, if I can say that, you know, because it is a skill, you know what I mean, to obviously be able to sell cars, your sales technique, and obviously, you know, understand what you're selling, and then obviously customer service that comes along with that. And then from there, when was actually your first step away from Mercedes? I know you're saying that you're always selling cars in the background, but when was it like, I've got to now, this is the day I've got to go and take day one, week one, next
got to pay my bills with it by doing that.
Yeah.
Well, I did have a business in between Mercedes and selling cars full time. It was a spray painting business which didn't go as expected. So
why?
The product, essentially, we were spray painting UPVC frames, and in all honesty, the product wasn't that good. So we had a lot of recourse.
That took you away from cars, and it took away from what you're good at and your passion.
Yeah, absolutely. But the reason why I could see myself getting into that was just on the basis that of the sales role. I'd been in sales all my career, so to speak, up until that point. So, you know, I felt like I could transfer that skill into anything, whether it's selling UPVC spray painting or selling used cars.
UVC spray painting.
What
is going on here? What's he doing here? That you could not make that up.
Are you joking?
It's this. You know what you were saying before about you believe in stuff.
Yeah, I'm just a believer in fate.
That's very strange.
I've never seen that van ever before in my life, and I don't have a clue who it is.
Well, he must have done really good in UPVC spray painting, because he's now walking around your showroom looking for a van or a very nice car.
Yes,
so he seems to have done all right. So we've gone from selling your first car to, while doing it at Mercedes, you've taken your first step in your first business venture. Didn't work out like you wanted to with the
UPVC spray painting.
What got you into your first actual dealership, and where was it? And did you start yourself? Was it with other people?
My first premises, as it were, was a shed on my drive, which I built. I built like a little sales office on my drive. I could fit about 7 or 8 cars on my drive. Had a little office, you know, 10 foot by 6 foot or something, and that was the first headquarters of Warford Cars. Yeah. Hey, pal, how are we doing?
I want to go back to the question I had before, obviously what got you into sort of luxury cars. I mean, we've touched on from when you were a young lad, 21, before that sold your first car, and then left Mercedes, and then you went on to get your first sort of driveway with, you could just about fit 5 cars on it, and you're selling from there, and that was what, 12-ish sort of years ago, and then just buying whatever cars that you could get hold of that you could make a bit of money on, and then from there, when would you step away from selling on your driveway to then actually getting a pro? Oh, you said before you built your shed and you're selling out that shed, but still technically on
Still
on the
technically at
house.
home. And then our first official kind of premises away from home was behind Porsche dealership in Wilmslow. Got a little unit there, small office. Used the car park over at Wilmslow Garden Centre as our overflow.
That's in between. So that's a great spot. But when you think about it, you're in between Ferrari, Porsche on Dean Road in Wilmslow.
Yeah, you got Rolls Royce.
You got Rolls Royce up there / McLaren. Is that right? And then you were on the industrial estate behind there.
Yeah, just behind the Porsche next to the MOT station that Porsche Centre Wilmslow use. It was a good little spot, and it got us off the ground what we needed, first premises, and then we've just slowly progressed.
The opportunity to then maybe speak to the guys from Porsche and Ferrari by accident, right? Is that?
Yeah, I think being located next to Porsche has definitely...
That's a great location, that, for your first location.
It's had an impact in what cars we deal in, definitely, because we've picked up a lot of customers from being there. So if you look around the type of stock that we sell, we do deal with a lot of Porsche, and that's because we deal with a lot of Porsche customers.
Pardon me ignorance, I wouldn't think, after not speaking to you today, that being a car dealer location would matter. Because everything's online, you want it, you go to the location where the car is. I didn't think it would matter, but I'm totally wrong. Because even today, we've had guys that have come into the showroom, don't know if we've actually been kept on camera on the podcast, but I've actually come in because yesterday they drove past. Not seen it online, not seen it anywhere else, they just drove past. So to say that location is for a car dealer is something you need to seriously consider about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think location for us here is absolutely crucial. Could I pick this business up and stick it in Scunthorpe and run the same business? Absolutely not.
Could you not know,
No
even everything
chance.
you've got online?
Yeah, no chance at all. We are blessed here with the location that we're in. Yeah, we're in the Golden Triangle. We've got Oldley Edge, Prestbury, Wilmslow, Knutsford, Hale, Altrincham. Yeah, such an affluent area. A lot of the stock that we've got is sourced from local clientele. You know, we sell cars and we buy cars all over the country, but the vast majority of it is done within a 10-mile radius of here. You know, if you put us in Stoke, would I have a GT3 RS, a Mustang, and a classic Ferrari sat in the showroom? Very unlikely. Really? Not to say that there's not money anywhere else in the country. I'm not ignorant to think that, but I just think we're in a location here which, I've probably taken it for granted at times.
Did you sort of, when you went to your first proper location on Dean Road, just off Dean Road, obviously in that amazing location, did you actively think to yourself, this is perfect because of the location, or did it just come up at the right place at the right time? What I'm trying to say is, did you learn that after your first location, or was actually a lot of thought into actually going there?
There was not. The thought into getting our first location was, what's my commute from work, from home? Right. It was about 10 minutes. Yeah. Can I afford the rent, and how many cars can it fit inside? So no, I didn't think about the location.
So anyone watching this podcast now who is a car dealer or sort of similar sort of industry is going to, if they watch this, is going to learn basically such a valuable lesson, I would have thought, because I didn't know this, that you've learned through putting the time, sort of sweat equity in, so to speak, from getting that first location, because you just thought, it's available, I can afford it, it's close to my house, job done, tick. Yeah. And then you've gone, well, it's next to Porsche, next to Ferrari, it's next to, you know what I mean, McLaren / Rolls Royce.
I'm not to say that I was ignorant enough to think that it wasn't a good location on the basis that it's around all these other prestige dealers. I didn't know how much impact it was going to have. Yeah. What I would say is, if you're looking at buying and selling cars, I think you can pick up a used car sales business and place it pretty much anywhere, as long as you've got good transport links. So it doesn't have to be in the most affluent area, it doesn't have to be in Cheshire or wherever. It can be anywhere, but that will also then dictate what sort of stock you've got and the clientele that you're dealing with day to day.
But then from there, did you move to here?
From there, from Wilmslow, we had a couple of units at an undisclosed location. And then we came here earlier this year. So we've had, if you count my driveway, we've had my driveway, Porsche Wilmslow, a couple of units at the back of a farm. Yeah. Here we're on to our fourth location. So, we've had a few moves.
That's a fair amount of growth in a short space of time, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, so the business was set up in 2018, so we're kind of 6 years in. We've had 4 moves, and we've just steadily tried to organically grow the business.
That's brilliant. And then the clientele along with that, and obviously the cars that you're dealing with. I mean, it sort of makes sense now when you say it, don't you? Location is key. especially for a business like this. Brilliant. Will, what's the one thing then you wish you would have known when you first started out? If there is anything you wish you would have known. I mean, forgetting about location, because obviously we mentioned that already, is the one thing that you would have wished you would have known before you started? Because you found everything else through trial and error, working out. If Will now could go to Will on day one, week one, on his driveway, what one bit of nugget and advice, other than location, would you offer?
I would stick with what I often tell myself, which is survival is underrated.
Can you
elaborate a little bit on that? Yeah. So a lot of people get wrapped up in growth and how much money they're making, where are they from a few months ago? And one motto I've kind of always said myself, if we're in a slow period, survival is underrated. If you're still going, then that's a pretty good sign. And I think the key for me, for businesses like this, on building a reputation and a bit of a brand, is longevity. Yeah, you can't expect to grow exponentially kind of overnight and
as much as you want to, right?
As much as you want to. And my point to saying survival is underrated, if you're still going next year, give yourself a pat on the back. It's not all just, shooting to the stars and everything's great. Just keep plodding along and keep with a solid work ethic, and things, fingers crossed, will pan out all right.
So it's not a case of thinking I've got to win and be better than everybody else. It's a case of just
keep going.
There's no end game, is there? I guess would be fair for me to say. There's no necessarily end game. It's just
it's
you
not.
win by staying in business, and
exactly, you got to stay in the business. You got to be in business to create your opportunities, haven't you? So surviving and staying afloat and keeping going for another year, that's one of the biggest things. I think it'd be very easy for people starting out, and certainly for me, I had a couple of things where, I'll give you an example. I had when I was first started selling cars off my driveway, I had a Subaru BRZ which I sold.
Nice.
And
colour?
Black. It was a cool little car. It was about 20 grand. And this young girl inquired online. She bought the car off us, drove away. Everything was fine. And a few weeks later, there was a serious mechanical issue with the car. And it turns out something in the engine had happened. It was a catastrophic engine failure, basically. And it turned out for me to resolve it, I've got to buy a new engine. I had to import it from Japan. Where would it be with the Subaru?
Yes.
Would it be?
I'd imagine so, yeah.
Yeah, something like Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, long story short, it was going to cost me about 10 grand to rectify it. And I knew from
Is that including the engine out, engine in, or everything?
Yeah, it was probably a 10 grand bill coming my way. And there's a fairly
But you didn't have 10 grand in the car though, did you?
Certainly didn't have 10 grand in the car. And there's a new dealer selling cars off my driveway. It did cross my mind, do I just fold the business, rather than coughing up the 10 grand? Because ultimately, to carry on running a business with the right reputation, the right thing to do is get the car back in, source the correct parts, fix the car, and give the customer back, the repaired car. But in my head, for a moment, I did think, is it all worth it? But obviously, I'm still here today, and I'm still trading under the same name. So yeah, I did the right thing, and I cracked on, and I got the car repaired for the girl, and absolutely, it was the right thing to do. But this is when I come back to that saying, survival's underrated, because I could have easily buried my head on that one and gone, do you know what? I don't want to cough
follow
up
the business, start again.
Let's just start again. Let's start with a clean slate. But for me, that's not how to live your life or operate a business.
I think that alone is testament to what you have here now at Warford Cars. I mean, this is my second day that I've been here, and just that story alone is probably testament to anyone watching this. If small business, big business, it doesn't matter. The customer is key, I think. Is that safe for me to say that?
Absolutely, yeah.
And reputation, obviously, along with that.
Yeah. You build a reputation over years, and you can smash a reputation quite quickly.
Like that, can't you?
Yeah, especially in the motor industry. If you're not going to...
Because everyone, I mean, imagine affluent individuals, you annoy one, they all sort of talk to each other, and, they all go to bars, restaurants, forums, online. I suppose it just takes one very bad experience to then ruin, well not ruin, but tarnish?
I think when you're starting out a business, you can have a couple of bad experiences, a couple of bad reviews, and yeah, that could be pretty fatal for you. I'd like to think where we're at now, we're fairly established. Not to say that we wouldn't deal with every issue in the correct manner, but if something came along and I had somebody screaming about how terrible we were, I wouldn't be that concerned that that's going to have a massive impact on business. I'll still treat every customer and every issue that we come across in the correct way. But certainly in the first year or two, I was petrified of, anything going wrong, any bad feedback from customers. Because it can have a drastic impact on your business, and so it should to an extent. If you're customer facing business and you're providing a product, you've got to make sure it's right. So that was probably one of the biggest stresses for the first few years, making sure that we didn't have any horror stories or really pissed off customers basically.
That's brilliant. What's probably the biggest challenge that's facing you now in sort of your industry, present day? Biggest challenge?
If I look forward in the medium short term, I don't think there's any drastic challenges that I've highlighted.
Would you say the way the government's playing out, does that have a massive effect on your business? The way interest rates are going, finances, stuff like that, is that necessarily a challenge for you?
I think it can affect the market to a degree, but
because you've been in the industry long enough, you've seen this happen many times before. It's not new for you, I guess.
Yeah, I don't get that excited about interest rate changes or anything to do with politics. I keep it fairly simple, have nice products around you, deal with customers in the right way, and you can buy and sell cars and make money on them. Don't be too greedy.
Is getting cars a challenge for you, as in getting stock in?
Getting stock is difficult. One of our main sources of stock here when we're filling the forecourt is through existing customers and local people. So as we grow and as we establish ourselves more and more over the years, it becomes easier and easier because there are more people knocking on the door saying, Will, can I sell you this car?
So it's becoming less and less of a challenge.
Yeah, it becomes less of a challenge. When I first started out buying and selling cars, I would open up Auto Trader, flick to the private adverts, I'd find 10 private sales, I'd ring them all, I might go and see 5 of them, and I'd go and buy maybe 2 of the cars by the time I've done it. I had to graft to get my cars on my driveway back then. It's a little bit different now. People pick up the phone to me and say, Will, can I sell you this car? And
that's got to be a good feeling, right?
Of course it is, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I don't have to go hunting for cars. People come knock on our door, which is great, because we can be a little bit selective, and that's why we look, we're surrounded with such nice cars, because we don't have to buy everything we're offered. We can pick and choose to an extent, but it certainly wasn't always like that. There was many a phone call to private sellers and knocking on doors.
I get a feeling that you generally do love what you do, because every time we mention about previous experiences, or even when you come in this morning, you still have a smile on your face.
Absolutely, yeah. How can you not
Is
smile?
it because when you go into the forecourt, you see the cars? Does it wear off?
It does actually.
Does it?
Yeah. I mean, the cars to an extent.
But like you said, what gets you more is actually the deal, putting that together, not necessarily the car.
What gets me excited is dealing with customers that we like, sales. I love doing the deal and. Building a brand and actually building something. We've got some great members of staff here.
Be proud of.
Yeah, and like the day that we put the sign up on the building, Warford Cars, I felt that deep. That was an incredible moment for me. It's something I'm really proud of.
Yeah, I'll get that. One more question, and then if you want, you can ask me a question if we've got time. Top 3 car garage, but more specifically, I want daily car, I want toy, like something you can enjoy at the weekend or whenever the weather's good, and classic car. So those 3 cars: daily, toy, classic.
Daily, well, I've got a wife and 2 kids, so we need a fairly big bus to get around in, and I like comfort. I feel like a bit of an old man, but I want a big 4x4. My daily car would be a Bentley Bentayga.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's nothing even comes close to the interior on the Bentleys now. The new Bentley Bentayga is ultimate luxury and comfort. So yeah, Bentley Bentayga is my daily.
Okay.
My classic / toy, that kind of merges a bit. I'd have a 911 Singer.
You mentioned that before.
Can't even compete with that.
So what's your true outright classic car then, to finish it off?
Ooh.
tough question, I know.
It's a tough question. And do you know what? We don't do that much with classic cars, and I'm not going to sit here and try and be an expert on classics. I would probably...
Would it be American, British?
No, not American. It'd probably
Really
be
not?
Mercedes Gullwing or something like that, I imagine.
Okay. That would be your classic sort of car.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Bikes, into bikes?
I've had a couple of bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but too dangerous.
Yeah. But you're a bit of a cyclist as well, actually. You love your bikes, so you got a garage full of cycling bikes.
I like bikes with pedals on them, yeah.
Yeah?
I like grinding gears.
Happy days. So, Will, before we sort of end,
Yeah.
have you got anything to ask me question-wise, or anything you just like to finish off that you'd like to say before we close?
So, you're down here today. What car are you buying?
What car am I buying?
Yeah,
I don't think I've got anything, well, I don't think you have anything in your forecourt that I can afford. But I did see like a Mini that's been shoved in the bush somewhere. I might be able to afford that. But apart from that, I mean, I would like to look at some of the cars you've got in your forecourt later on after this podcast, if you're okay, if you've got time to do that.
Absolutely, yeah. Here's another question for you then. If you look around here, if there was one car we were going to go for a drive in, what would it be?
I've not properly been around the forecourt yet, but from what I've seen already, I do like that AMG, is it GT? GTR.
GTR Roadster.
That is generally my, not the Roadster, I want the hardtop, but
coupe.
That would be my realistic dream car. I don't think you'll let me take that out though.
It's a little bit damp, isn't it?
Well, maybe take out a nice G-Wagon or something like that. Would that be something that we could maybe?
I'm sure we could.
Because I very much doubt you'll ever let me touch one of these.
3RS.
Oh, the Ferrari, or definitely not the Mustang. But
look, the sun's come out. We'll find something to go for a drive in. We'll have a bit of fun, yeah.
Awesome. Will, thanks very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming down. Cheers, James.
458 to tell you.
With the van as a Part X, we are coming in at just £2,664 a month.